Hey, good afternoon, Manchester, New Hampshire, and all the surrounding areas. We are here with a pretty interesting topic.
Yes.
We are here with a whole lot of people. I'm not even going to try to remember their names. Do you remember their names?
Glenn knows their
we have
names.
the famous over here.
I'm not
Glenn
famous.
has the list.
I'm just like you, Norm.
Yes, today we are talking about a very specific topic. We are going to be talking about Common Core. So I know a lot of people like to call in and ask for readings during the show, but we're going to ask if you do not do that today, if you just call in to discuss Common Core, your questions, your concerns, your opinion on it, that would be amazing. And more importantly than anything else, I want to wish Norm a very happy birthday. Today is Norm's birthday.
Can we
35.
30.
Oh, I was going to say, will you
34
reveal
this
your
year.
age? 35?
35.
I thought you
With
were
a 41.
34.
34, you're right.
Right,
With a
see?
41-year-old son.
See, I thought it was 96.
Yeah.
Whoa!
Actually, if you turn that number around, it really is.
That's
right. It really is 69.
I going to be honest. Look at that. I love it.
Yay.
Well, honey, when you have them gorgeous look like
When you
that.
are that sexy, come on.
When you're that man's man. Is that what you call it? Man's man?
Yeah, that's what they call it.
I always thought it was a she-man. I don't know.
No, that's something else.
Oh,
Yeah,
is that
that's
what it
something
is?
different.
Oh, okay. Yeah, thank you both for all the wishes. I got a lot of Facebook mail with, and I'm just so excited when I think of where I've been to where I am today.
That-
And it's the people. It isn't you or I.
Right.
It's the people that watch the show and the guests that come on the show,
Yes.
Mr. Olette, and the guests that come on the show that make us who we are today.
Yes.
We have the famous Glenn R.J. Olette,
I'm
candidate for
not-
the state
No,
rep.
no,
No.
no,
You're not now?
no.
You changed your mind?
I didn't change my mind. The political process in the state of New Hampshire and in most states in this country is that they don't make it possible for independents. They make it so difficult.
Well, this is where Common Core could come into play.
That's right. So I'm going to run for mayor next year because I'm allowed to do that because in Manchester we have nonpartisan politics.
Yay.
And this is supposed to be a free political country.
I know.
Right?
Okay.
So much for that.
Glenn, I'm going to ask you to introduce the young ladies. They're kind of hot looking fellows.
Haven't heard that before for Common Core.
You're gonna. Most of these ladies are married. You're gonna make them blush.
So what?
So anyway, thanks Norm for having us here, and Laurie.
Yes.
Really appreciate it. It's a very important issue.
Because you're embarrassing her.
That's okay.
There are a total of, including myself, besides the co-host and the host, there are 7 guests coming in, so we're going to be changing back and forth. And there are 2 experts. Dr. James Magellan?
Milgram.
Milgrim will be calling in from California. He's originally from Indiana, but he's not speaking on Common Core in California. He'll call us in at 5:15. At 4:30 p.m., Dr. Sandra Stotsky from Massachusetts, who is now in North Dakota, will be calling in from North Dakota. I also want to say that we have people who are watching right now from Wisconsin, Connecticut, all over the place.
All
They've
over the
already
world.
emailed, yes.
All over the world.
All over the world.
Don't be shy,
Now,
girl.
not to interrupt, but we do have an incoming call.
Okay.
Wow, that's
Already?
quick.
Oh, they hung up. We lost them.
Our guests
Sorry.
are...
Brett, if they call, we're talking, please put them on hold and make sure it's not a reading, okay?
Uh,
Put them on hold? If they have a question for the guests while we're talking, and then we'll take it after that.
Okay.
Because we're not going to be doing second readings. I mean, if they want to wish me a happy birthday, that's okay. I'll take all that. No.
Our guest in the first round is Marianne Banfield.
Anne Marie.
Anne Marie. I still call you Marianne. And Anne Marie, you're with Cornerstone. She's with Cornerstone.
I'm with Cornerstone Action. We're a family policy group, and I'm
Awesome.
I'm the education liaison for them. So I've been researching education for, well, since my kids started school years and years and years ago. So I volunteer, and I take that information that I've gained over the years and push for better education policy. But I do it
What's
as a volunteer. Cornerstone is a family policy group in New Hampshire. I don't know. Do you want me to go further into that? Well, I think that they push or they support families, do things that in education is something that I think affects all families. So what I do is I try to offer that that perspective, especially from a mom. I'm a mom also, and that's why I got involved. Is because you know, my kids were important. Now they're in college, but I continue to do this because I think it's important work.
Absolutely.
Up
Absolutely.
north?
Yes.
Yep.
The caller, I recognize his voice too. He just wanted to wish you a happy birthday. Is that okay?
Yep.
Yep. He's not there anymore.
Oh, he's not there? Okay. Call back.
Next,
On hold. He's still on hold.
Oh.
Oh, he is? Doesn't say that.
Hello. Welcome to Norman, friends. Hello.
Hello.
Hey, how you doing?
Not too bad. Happy birthday from Mary and I and Cindy.
Well, thank you very much, Joey. I appreciate that. You know, are you behaving for me?
Nope.
Oh, all right. Okay, thank you, Joey.
You're welcome. Have a good day, Norm.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
our next guest is Patrice Bernard.
Bernard, yeah.
Patrice?
Patrice.
Français.
That's
Patrice.
right,
Patrice Julien.
There you go, Julian. Oh my
Okay,
God.
now, what get you involved with Common Core?
About a year ago, I started looking at the school board minutes and the agendas, and I noticed these curriculum guides. So I started investigating. I have 4 children, 3 of whom are school age now, one who's already, who's 24 years old. They're 24, 15, 12, and 7. So I've got young children. So I've been following the school board off and on for years. And I was looking at the agenda and saw these curriculum guides, and I started looking at them. And there was this suggested textbook that was called the Piggy Book, and it was
The
called
Piggy
the
Book.
Piggy Book.
P-I-G-G-Y?
Yeah, and it depicted a man in a business suit and his wife and 2 sons, and it implied that the men who worked and the sons who asked mom to do make the meals and do the dishes and do the laundry, it implied that the men were pigs, and it actually showed pictures in the book of the men turning into pigs.
Oh, that's disgusting.
So mom got disgusted and she left the house. And the men turned into even more pigs and the house got dirtier. And when mom came home, mom was finally happy because dad started doing the dishes and the laundry and mom got to fix the car. I just thought, you know what? And this was recommended for a 1st grade or 2nd grade level.
Inappropriate.
So I said, there is no-
But it's too
That's
young.
not.
Yeah,
That's crazy.
so-
That's
There's a
not
better
even-
way of doing it.
Yeah.
I went to the school board and I said, you're not telling my little ones that their father who works hard all day is a pig for asking me to make the meals and do the laundry. That's wrong, and I don't want any child to go home and get in trouble or get spanked by their parents for calling their dad a pig.
Right.
I thought that would be horrible.
Right.
And then I found out that this curriculum guides were something that were part of something called Common Core, and that's how I learned about Common Core, and I started studying up on that and these state standards, and now I've focused mostly on the Manchester academic standards, just like I focused on the Manchester curriculum guides, and I've been looking at them, each of the standards. Anne Marie knows a lot about Common Core. I know about the Manchester standards, and I don't think they're standards. I think it says, when it says with prompting and support, I don't think that means a child has mastered anything.
No,
So shouldn't a standard be something we can test?
we can all test whether you're black, brown, blue, green, or yellow, whether you have a,
What was that?
whether you have a,
There's a friend on hold for you.
Oh, thank
Okay.
you. Thank you for calling Norman Friends.
hello?
Welcome to Norman Friends.
Press
Hello?
harder.
Hi, Norm.
Hi there, how are you?
They found a blood clot and that bursted in my leg.
Oh, no.
Oh, I'm sorry to hear that.
So I've kind of been laid up, and I thought I'd call. I see you got rid of your monkey on your back, huh?
My monkey
Hello?
on my back? Oh,
Yeah, Matt.
oh.
Wow, that's low
Whoa,
even for you.
whoa, whoa.
Hi, Glenn.
Hi, yeah, that's low even for you.
Well, you know what? She's speaking of us.
I
Yeah.
just
I
wanted
told
to
you.
say hello because I've
Yep.
been laid up so long and I haven't had a chance to call anyone.
Uh-huh. Well, we're talking about Common Core.
Core. Common Core.
Common Core.
Which is,
It's about education.
yes, I know. There's been a lot of problems with it.
All right. So if you have a question for these ladies, you're more than welcome. Because we're not doing it here, but talking about Common Cold Cores. Hey, I like
Common
that.
Core.
Cold Cores. Good.
I just wanted to say hi to you,
Okay. Thank you.
and I want you to stay healthy.
Oh, yeah,
Stay
I will.
very healthy, please.
Yeah, I sure will. Thank you. And I'm
Okay,
still
guys.
cooking. Yeah.
Right.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
And you're still cooking?
I'm still cooking. She sent me all kinds of neat recipes.
Oh.
Boy, she- Oh, see, that's another compliment for you.
Now, Patrice, you are a mom.
I'm a
Yes.
mother.
Do you know how important that is, that parents be involved in their kids'
Well-
education?
When I went before the school board, and I was testifying about the 1930s standards that I found in my aunt was a school teacher here in Manchester, and I found the 1930s New Hampshire standards. And when I brought that to the school board, a member at large, Kathy Staub, was laughing at me, and proceeded to make a very snide remark about how we're not doing workforce education anymore.
That's what this is.
And
That's
Core is.
exactly what
That's
this
we
is.
weren't going to be training factory workers, but
Yes, that's what this
I
is.
don't know a lot about Common Core, so I'm glad you people are around.
And Lori knows a lot about it.
Well, I don't know that I know a
No,
lot,
but
but
you
I
knew
do
that
know
much.
You did
some,
some
and I
study.
know from what I've read, it's just designed to make us drones,
Right.
worker bees.
Yeah.
You know, and the sad part is
Robots.
that if you don't follow certain standards, okay, then you're either going to be mentally, according to the statistics, that you're mentally challenged. I've already been mentally challenged, so I don't worry too much, you know.
Is that why you do
Or,
this?
yeah, that's right. And or there's something wrong with you, so they're going to send you to a psychologist to get you on drugs, so that then you can keep up with its education. What's wrong with the old-fashioned reading, writing? What is that?
Arithmetic.
Reading and writing and arithmetic. What's wrong with that?
Right.
Well, I think that's a great point, because what I have found with Common Core and this workforce training, which is exactly what this is, if you Google Mark Tucker and MARC, letter to Hillary Clinton, he's actually one of the chief architects of Common Core, and he lays out that this is workforce training. So you're right. I think what a lot of us look for is, and what I have always looked for is, give me the basics. I want to focus on literacy and academic excellence. I think when you get a student who graduates from high school who's literate, who is knowledgeable, who has the information that they can take to a job, I think many employers are going to appreciate that. So what Common Core does and what workforce training does, because this is a shift, it moves away from that. It moves away from focusing on literacy to some of these non-academic workforce skills. And you might say, well, workforce skills are important, and they may be important, but if you're illiterate, or if you're not focusing on literacy, what good is a I can collaborate skill if I don't know basic math? And that's what I think the biggest problem with Common Core is that it's this shift. And this is why you're not going to find it in the elite private schools. Parents in the, Bill Gates, who's one of the biggest funders of Common Core, would never allow his kids, but boy, he's pushing it on every aspect in this country, politically, through legislatures, well, actually, most of this has not gone through the legislature, but through departments of education. So the elites will never touch this for their kids because they want something better. They want their kids to be literate and have the world open to them. That's true social justice, in my opinion. But the people that push this are the ones who say they support social justice, and actually it dumbs down education. So the kids who might not come from a wealthy family that can get into these private elite schools, they're put into this box, this Common Core box, and that's where you're going to go in life. And I live in Bedford. And I can tell you that there's a lot of parents who put their kids in private tutoring in Bedford. So even if they're in the Bedford schools and Bedford follows Common Core, a lot of them are, what a lot of parents don't know is they're getting private tutoring. So they're getting those basics.
Right.
I mean, Kumon and Sylvan thrive in Bedford right now because so many parents put their kids in there. They're not going to let their kids fail.
I have a comment from someone here. I can get my phone back on. I hate this. Oh, there we go. Now I lost. And it says, for the Manchester schooling, and it's called, teachers do not care. They do not care what you think is best for your child. They let the powers get to their head, and they forget to, they chose, this is my favorite, this is a student, this is from a student, okay? Teachers do not care. They do not care what you think is best for you. They let the power get to their head, and they choose it for you. In other words, education.
And that's some of the teachers.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's
Yeah, we're
That's
not
not
gonna say all
all.
bad.
Right.
Not all.
And
Not
also,
all
they
teachers,
downgrade.
no.
You know, but this is her opinion. She's
Yes.
a student at the
Right.
high school. This is her opinion.
Right.
And I'm not saying all teachers are bad. Don't
No.
misunderstand me, but I think all teachers are so administratively
Hogtied.
hogtied.
Right,
Yeah,
that you
they,
can't
they
be
don't
teachers.
They don't have
Because
the
they're
choice.
worried about the
Right.
dollar signs, that the superintendent and the 4 assistant superintendents and the principals and the vice principals and
Right.
they get
Their
all that-
evaluations.
They get really high salary, which could buy books, which could buy, walls. Well, could snatch the kids onto the wall and smack them one once in a while, like the old school jesters, And no, I'm only kidding on that one, but.
You have a call on hold?
Oh,
Sorry.
Okay, thank you. See that we get so involved here.
Yeah.
Welcome to Norman Friends. Hello?
Hello,
Hello?
Hi there.
this is Sandra Stotsky
Oh.
calling in.
Oh, good.
Oh, okay. Hi. This is Norm. Feel free. You're on the air now.
Let's say first, let's get the second group in here.
Oh, we could go a
I'm
little
just
bit
a
longer,
mom,
but
so
you
I'll
know what?
be-
Go ahead.
Oh,
I think it would be helpful because Dr. Stotsky was part of the, after Manchester decided to basically go above the floor on Common Core, Dr. Stotsky, I had reached out to her and Dr. Milgrim, who's supposed to call in a little bit, and
Can you
asked.
hear us?
Yes.
You can hear us, right?
I can hear you.
Okay.
Okay.
Good.
So I'll just give you some background, and then she can certainly join our conversation and is welcome. But I had reached out to her. Her and Dr. Milgram both sat on the Common Core Validation Committee and refused to sign off on the Common Core standards because they're not good enough to be in our schools. So I think that needs to be noted. And they both have expertise in the content areas, mathematics and English language arts. They're also the nation's renowned experts on creating academic standards. So they were chosen by the Common Core organization to validate these. They refused to validate these because they're just simply not good enough. Now, what happened when Manchester decided that they were going to go above and beyond Common Core, so they said, I reached out to Dr. Milgram and Dr. Stotsky and asked if they would contribute, offer their expertise. Let's get this done right. Let's get these Manchester academic standards done right. If they do them right, they're going to give their stamp of approval, and everybody can get behind it, everybody can support it, and unfortunately that just did not pan out. And so on August 11th, coming up at 7 o'clock at City Hall, the school board's going to be voting on the Manchester academic standards.
At the city hall down here?
Yes.
Yeah.
So what I think is a good idea is Dr. Stotsky can give her perspective on what Manchester developed, maybe what she contributed or was not asked to contribute, and so give your callers or your viewers some idea of what went wrong, and why Manchester should not approve the academic standards right now. So
Okay.
I have a question for you from one of my
Oh,
viewers here.
okay.
What does Common Core do to help children with autism disability?
To help, I think actually it's probably going to hurt.
What do you think, Doctor?
Yeah.
Hello?
Sandra?
Hello, are
Hi.
you speaking to me?
Yeah. Okay, I have a question. I know that you're very well qualified. One of my viewers that has a child that has autism. Will this Common Core help or hurt the child?
I can't imagine that it would help the child. As far as I know, the Secretary of Education, Arnie Duncan, has indicated that special needs children are going to be held to the same standards as all other children on these tests, and there will be no concessions made. So I do not know in any way how that would necessarily help autistic children. I am not sure how it would hurt them if they have been taking tests with accommodations, but I don't know what each child's record for IEP is, so
Yeah.
that is an open question, but I know of no way it can help the child.
Now, you came. Now, first of all, I would like to thank you for honoring us by you calling into our show.
Yes, thank you. Thank you very much. It's important to have experts on
Yeah.
this subject to really get the information out there.
Yeah. Still there?
Yep,
Yeah.
she's still
Yeah.
there.
Oh, we have a delay. Yeah, okay, but I would like to truly, I think it's awesome that you are giving us the honor. And now the floor is up to you, darling.
Are
Sandra?
you talking to me? I'm not
Yeah.
sure. We
Yes.
know when you
Oh,
have
okay.
a pause.
Oh, okay, yeah, that's a 5-second
To
delay.
say something or
Yeah,
or something
yeah.
else.
No, I was saying, I want to thank you for the honor of having you calling in on our show.
Oh, my pleasure to be here, and I'm happy to participate in whatever way I can be useful. If you do have a question for me, use my name first so I know that you are directing it to me to
Yeah.
speak up, because otherwise I won't know that I'm
Okay.
supposed to say something.
Okay.
Well, you know what? We're turning the floor over to you. You can talk for as long as you want.
Oh, you're expecting me to give you a little talk on...
Right.
Tell me what topics, because I can talk on anything relating to Common Core.
Sandra.
If you would just give me some hint as to what particular topic for the next 15 minutes
Okay.
you might like me to address.
That's fine, Sandra.
Are
This
there
is,
some special things that you want me to deal with in particular?
yes. Why don't we talk about how you got into the Manchester schools, how you were contacted, and what you've done, and what you've tried to do and you've been left out.
Okay, you want me to deal specifically with Manchester. Let
Right.
me say that I was how did I get involved? I was contacted by Jack Ryan, who is an assistant superintendent, after the teachers had done a first draft. He asked if I would like to send in some comments on the first draft. And I told him, and this was probably in February, early March, I said I would prefer to come in and actually work with the teachers and see what they were doing as they were developing a second draft. He thought that was a good idea, so I came in sometime in the middle of March, spent a few hours one morning working with the high school English teachers on table of contents issues. What are the categories they would want to have new standards in if they were going to be developing new standards, which is what they seemed to be doing at that point. And then after I left about noontime, I then I went back to Boston again, and then I contacted Mr. Ryan and said I would be happy to come in another time and work with the other two groups of teachers, because they had a group for middle school and various elementary groups working on the elementary grade levels. And so I came in the middle of April for another session, and I spent some of my time with the middle school teachers who were there. This was not as productive a session because they seemed to want to have certain, or at least the few who were very vocal, they weren't all participating equally. A few of the more vocal ones wanted to put in some things that I knew were not supported by research. I then, for the last half of my time that was there, worked with a Miss Pelletier, who is a curriculum specialist for the elementary grade, and a few elementary teachers, and we spent some time working on the overarching categories or table of contents that could unify all of the different grades in the elementary school. They seemed to be quite pleased with what we had ended up with, but I've never seen it on the website for the Manchester schools. Since then, I've had nothing more to do with the Manchester standards. I did offer to come in and speak to the school board when it was going to be hearing the presentation of these standards. In June, I think, was the first meeting that was to be held. But I told Mr. Ryan that before I could give a review and come in and speak to the school board, I would need to see all of the standards in one place. They were in bits and pieces on the web by different grade levels, and they weren't necessarily by each grade level. Sometimes it was a combined set of grades. Whatever it was not all in one place, and it was all on the web, which makes it impossible to really look carefully at developmental progressions from grade to grade.
Right. Yep.
Because it's simply different grade level standards that are up there. And I said I would need to have, first, everything in one place in hard copy for me to look at. 2, I would want to see what standards were above the floor. They should mark the ones that were the Common Core floor. That is what Mayor Gatsis and the school board wanted. And then they should mark those standards that were above the floor, because that is also what they apparently wanted. So I never heard any more, and that was it. I didn't go to a school board meeting, and I've just heard all kinds of stories and rumors about why I didn't show up and the conditions I imposed, when my only 2 conditions were reasonable conditions that any reviewer
Absolutely.
should expect to see a whole document complete, and to see which standards are above the floor and which ones are the floor. Otherwise, what are you evaluating? You need to evaluate how the teachers met the charge. And that's my story. So I'm happy to entertain any questions that any of you would like to ask me.
I have one question for you. I would
Yes.
love to have you come on my TV show.
I believe she's on it
I'd
right
be
now.
happy to come on your TV show. I have been on Rich Gerard's, and I've told this story for about an hour's worth on his TV show. He Skyped me in.
Well, I'm going to give
So-
you a... I'll give you a 2-hour show.
What more details do you want?
Whatever you know what? I am
think
so
the
into
school
it. Yeah, okay.
board
Yeah.
and Mr. Ryan, and maybe some of the teachers themselves, should be on a program
I'll bring them on.
explaining or answering some of these questions.
Very good
Why
question.
isn't
You
the
know what?
document complete by now?
Yeah.
I would be...
all in one place.
I would be very happy. I love having people on. I love having them put on the spot. Why can't you do it? Why did you have an expert come in and do all these evaluations and you're not going to follow through with them?
Right.
And the one thing that I really have a hard time with is when I see that the children, educationally wise, are being forgotten, are going down by the wayside.
Right.
This scares the hell out of me.
Yeah.
Okay, it really
Absolutely.
does. I am frightened for my granddaughter. I am frightened for the children of today's education. I am frightened for them because no one in this city, and you can tell me all the board of education and all the superintendent and the principal that they all care about the student. I don't believe them. I see what's happening with the education. I look at Facebook and I see all these kids that don't want to go to school because they're not motivated. And with you, and I agree with you, Doctor, that we got to find some way to motivate the children.
Yes.
Doctor, I have...
We do have to motivate them, but we also have to provide
Right.
intellectual objectives, which good standards are, for teachers at every grade level in both English and math. And that is what you want 2 sets of standards for. Common Core isn't providing that.
Right.
So
Ooh.
we need to find out what the problems are, if there are any, with what the teachers have come up with. I'm not a math expert, so I don't look at the math standards, but I am an expert in ELA standards, and I am a former teacher of the elementary grades and at the high school level. So I would like to have someone like you invite Mr. Ryan or Superintendent Livingston or someone on the school board, maybe even Mayor Gatsis himself, and ask why they are not expecting to look at a complete document that shows standards on the floor and above the floor before they vote. You would expect that the Manchester School Board should be voting for a document that's all in one place before they vote. It should be completed. Otherwise, I don't understand how they can vote, and I have no idea why they paid consultants a few months ago to come in and give reports on an incomplete document.
Exactly.
Over 100,000.
Over 100.
Yep.
That's crazy.
How many books could that buy?
To go nowhere, to come
go
back
nowhere.
to the starting point.
Yeah.
Doctor, they spent over $100,000, $80,000 on a consultant, and so far up to $29,000 on putting the document together. The document is 256 pages, and we're told by Assistant Superintendent Ryan that it is still a work in progress. It's a living document, and so how do we expect as parents and citizens, the school board, to vote on a document that's not ready? How do you-
I don't know. First of all, I don't understand why one would call a set of standards a living document. No one called Common Core a living document when the final set of standards was released.
Good
Right.
point.
They were trademarked
Can
and
every
fixed.
5
Correct.
years or every 7 years revise a document, but you don't call it a living document, just
right.
like the Constitution. If you're going to have the rule of law, you have to know what the law is at any one time.
Right.
You can't keep moving the target
She's
all the
amazing.
time
Yes.
and
She knows
expect
her
anyone to know what's going on. So what are the standards at this point in time? And let's stop calling it a living document. You could keep adding appendices to it, but the standards shouldn't be 235 pages.
Right.
Because that's a ridiculous length for any set of standards. It should be no
Right.
more than 30 to 50 pages long if
Exactly.
you're doing K to 12. And let's see a completed document in professional condition with standards marked clearly as to which ones are above the floor. That was the charge to the committee, and there's no reason why this department or these highly paid people can't give it to you. Now, let me go back for a minute to this consultant who was paid $80,000. For what? Do we have a copy of the report?
No, well, they do, but the public doesn't.
They came in the summer to
They-
help do workshops and to unpack the standards, I believe they said.
unpack.
And this is what started it, and the parents started coming in and saying, we don't really want them to unpack, we want those standards to leave the district. And when it got up to this crescendo in last October, and the mayor was worried about his reelection campaign simultaneously, he said, okay, we're not even going to discuss the Common Core, we're going to give you the highest standards, please leave, and we're all set, and we'll come back in June. Come back.
Okay, but that is a past history.
Right.
Apparently, recently, a consultant was paid to come in and do something, review these newly developed
That's the
standards.
$29,000.
I want to know if there is a report. Was the school board given something for $80,000? What did this person do that came in just a few months ago, unless
No,
That was the $29,000.
I think we at
80,000
least ought to have the facts straight.
80,000 was for the summer of 2013, 29,000
Was for the new
and
standards.
change was for this revision that
And
they did.
They did get a presentation from that consultant, but when we had a public hearing twice in the month of July, the school superintendent and their administration and school board members did not give us a presentation, which they're supposed to, and they were not allowing us to ask questions. They had told us we had 3 minutes to give their opinions, and when they adjourned the meeting, one school member made it very specific that now the meeting is closed, I will stay to talk to everybody, and 10 of us
Privately,
said
privately,
no. And she said, why? Because it's supposed to be a public meeting, not a closed meeting.
I understand that. So this was not a legal public meeting.
Right.
And the
That's correct.
chairman of the school board should have been in charge, which is the mayor, and the mayor should have been leading a legal public meeting. But if
we
there
have
was
a
a
mayor?
presentation
No, the mayor was in
and you
attendance.
paid money for it,
Yeah.
you should have something in writing to look at. And somehow, otherwise you don't pay the bill.
But Doctor,
If the bill was paid and you have nothing to
It-
show for
it
it,
was-
then there is a serious problem
It was-
that needs to
Absolutely.
be dealt with. If somebody came in as a consultant to make a presentation or a report on those new standards, you need to have something in front of you to look at. And if you were supposed to have a public meeting and you weren't allowed to ask questions, then you didn't have a public meeting.
That's
There you
correct.
go.
Now,
Right.
you need to schedule a public meeting. And let me ask you, is the mayor the only one who schedules board meetings? Or can a quorum of you get together and establish a public meeting of your
quorum
own?
can.
There have to be bylaws. You could call city council and ask what you can do.
Yes, a quorum can, but I'll tell you what, the mayor went the following day to Rich Gerard's morning radio show, and he made it very clear when Rich asked him about how they ran these public hearings, and he said, as far as he's concerned, the city of Manchester does things differently, and when I'm in charge, we're going to allow 3 minutes for their opinions, and that's it, and that is not a public hearing.
No, it isn't. And I think you could ask the legal counsel for the mayor, because there must be some legal department for the
Yes,
mayor's office.
There is.
Or for the city itself,
board would have to.
as to
Schools.
what constitutes a public meeting. Otherwise, you write to the Attorney General's office in Concord, and you
I
ask
like
what
this lady. I'm
constitutes
getting a lot of
a public meeting.
information.
I mean, we cannot have rule by dictators. And no mayor, no board of selectmen can simply say there will not be a public meeting of the kind that is spelled out as a public meeting according to procedures that are somewhere listed, one would expect, in the Attorney General's office. But that is where some energy should be going, it seems to me, to find out how do you get a true public meeting if your mayor doesn't want to call one.
I'm going to jump in. This is Anne Marie again, Dr. Stotsky, because I want to do some comparisons to what's going on in Manchester, what we see nationwide, and what we're seeing through the state of New Hampshire. And that seems to be almost a censoring or almost a shutdown of public discussion on Common Core. And so I think what you're starting to see in Manchester is this almost this effort to get rid of and kind of squash anybody's opposition. And so let me contrast this for you. In Wakefield, New Hampshire, their school board has voted against Common Core, and they have voted in the old Massachusetts standards, which are far superior. Dr. Stotsky actually was the architect of those when she was leading the Department of Education in Massachusetts several years ago. So I've attended their school board meetings. I was invited. I wasn't told you have 3 minutes to speak. I spoke as long as I could to explain what was going on with Common Core. Their chairman of the school board reached out to the people in the audience, the parents and the people who showed up, and said, do you have any comments? They were not subjected to 3 minutes. Now, I will say that when you have a room full of 50 people and you have to get through 50 people, I can't understand where they're going to have to limit those comments. However, I also attended the curriculum and instruction meeting, and I think there was about 4 of us who spoke. We were, and they did limit the time that you could speak. But there's no dialogue when you're cut off at 3 minutes. And I do appreciate the fact that the chair does allow me to come in and speak. I'm not a Manchester resident, although I'm asked every time by Manchester residents to come and speak. But there is now this attempt, and it's nationwide. This is not just going on in Manchester or New Hampshire. All over the place. We've got to shut down those opposition. We've got to shut them down and just keep pushing and pushing and pushing this through, regardless of the fact that parents don't want this. They have made it clear in Manchester, and yet what we're seeing is a revision of Common Core called the Manchester Academic Standards with some tweaking to it. We saw this happen in Indiana under Governor Pence. Dr. Stotsky can talk about that, where they basically revised Common Core, and they're actually, according to her, they're actually worse than what Common Core was. We got to quiet down the opposition, rebrand it, call it something else, and resell it. And it's clear that Manchester parents are saying, you know what, we're not buying it. You better come up with something different. So I just want to put that out there.
You have a comment?
No,
I do. I'm Doris Hohensee. I'm from the New Hampshire Families for Education. I was in Hollis Brookline, and they had a different situation. They actually had a ballot question, and they won 3-1 against Common Core. They did not want it. They said, take it out of our school. And they won. They prevailed 3-1. And the school board asked for their lawyer's opinion, and he said, that's just advisory. The school board can do whatever they please.
So why have a...
That's like ridiculous.
Why have a vote?
Right. Well, that was what the people said.
Yeah.
And the same thing has happened in Manchester. That chamber was packed with parents. And they didn't say, well, maybe Common Core. They said, get it out. And now we have a whole year studying it, and we're saying this is the best we can do.
Okay, what we're now seeing is complete defiance of a rule of law. And what happened in Hollis Brookline, if the lawyer says, who cares what the voters want, who cares what the lawyer says? If the lawyer is going to say, who cares what the voters want?
Well, let's not pay the lawyer.
For something. And I think that if he's dismissing what the voters want, then the voters can also dismiss what the lawyer says.
Right.
But the school committee has the legal authority to vote for something. And if the school board in Manchester legally voted because that they don't want Common Core, that they want something above the floor, then the people who submit something from the school system to the board have got to show what is above the Common Core floor. Otherwise, don't pay them their salary.
There you go.
I mean, there's got to be consequences for people who don't follow the rule of law. Otherwise, we simply abandon what makes a country work. or a town work or a city work. Why send your tax money to a town or city or a state or a government that doesn't care about the rule of law? There's got to be consequences.
Yes.
So there has to be some way of depriving people of salaries who don't follow the laws that were set up that
they get
govern their
raises.
salary use.
Well, you have a question?
Yeah, I have a question. I think that we should demand more from our elected officials. Inferior standards, no better than Common Core, is not acceptable. Our kids will have trouble getting into college grades. You can talk about that in a few minutes. Parents, teachers, and our school boards will be losing local control. And as far as I was a youngster, I was always raised and told that local control of education is number one. Doctor, before you leave, can you please give us a recommendation on what you think the school board should do on Monday? Should they vote for this non-completion of the Common Core or wait till they've completed the document?
They should tell, no, they should not vote on an incomplete document. That's ridiculous. They should refuse to vote, table the motion. Do they follow Robert's Rules of Order?
I believe they do.
There must be some procedures that this board follows, regardless of the mayor's defiance of the rule of law.
They do, but they won't.
They should
He's in charge.
indicate that they want to table any motion to adopt an incomplete incomplete document because they want a complete document all in one place that has gone out for review from qualified to qualified reviewers, and they get from these qualified reviewers a report that can be discussed by board members at a meeting, and they will not vote until they get a document that is complete that indicates what the charge to the teachers was to begin with. That's it. They just table any motion to approve this document until such future time, and they can specify a date, could be October, could be November, whatever you want, that when they expect a complete document back. And if there are to be extra pieces added, fine, the appendices can be added at any time that the teachers and the school administration wants to add extra appendices. They should be each coming to the board for a vote when they are ready. But the standards should be addressing the charge, and they should come and be presented with reviewers' comments on a completed document that addresses the charge. That's the rule of law.
Well,
That's all I can say at this point.
Well, I want to thank you,
If
Doctor.
they don't have that available, then the board doesn't vote approval. By the way, this is more important at this point. Then the board doesn't vote approval of this document, and it means that the school cannot go ahead with implementing Common Core because the board already voted to kill Common Core.
Right.
So where does that leave the schools? It leaves the schools addressing the old New Hampshire standards until such time as Mr. Ryan and the teachers produce a complete document for the board to vote on.
Well, Doctor, I want to thank you for your call, and I will definitely be getting a hold of you very quickly, hopefully in September, what you got, next month,
September.
and have you come on here on my show and bring the guests back on for a 2-hour show, longer than Glenn's, but a 2-hour show, and we'll look forward to getting in contact with you very soon.
Fine, I'd be happy to come back, but I hope that the Manchester School Board starts insisting upon some obedience to the rule of law in Manchester.
Well, I'm
Thank
not
you
going
very
to...
much.
And you
Thank
too.
you.
Bye-bye now.
Bye-bye.
That's why it's important that we go to that parents go to this meeting on Monday.
I'm not going to hold my breath in the school.
Do you have to keep in mind, in 2010, when they adopted these standards, the 40 to 45 states, many of them did it the same as Manchester. We don't see them, but we know they're going to be good, and let's just take the money. So Manchester's copying that bad, crazy approach.
You know what I always find interesting? Well, if we take Common Core, then we're going to get more federal government money.
Yes.
Well, I think what
Not by the people.
What people fail to recognize is that the federal government either printed money, which decreases the value of the money you have in your pocket, or they got it from you, the taxpayer.
Yeah,
And
there
so
you go.
they're going to take, I'm just throwing a dollar amount so everyone can get a good picture. So they're going to take $10 from you in taxes, and they're going to hold a carrot in front of you, and let's see what tricks you can do, and I'm only going to give you back $3, but if you do this, maybe we'll give you $4 of your own money. Well, would you feel enriched? Would you feel like you were getting a good bargain if I said, give me 10 and I'll give you back 4 and give you something now you're shackled to for X number of years? This is an experiment. We don't have anything clear. We don't have anything like that, and it's the children. Oh, let me introduce myself. My name is Eileen Landis. I'm a candidate for New Hampshire Senate in District 20. So it's Goffstown and Manchester's Ward 3, 4, 10, and 11.
I'm in your ward. All right. I'm in your ward. All right, I can vote
So
for
am
you.
I. I mean,
Yeah.
That's awesome.
Now, the question I have, one of the things that disturbed me the most is when you go to a all-the-person meeting, because there are women on the board too, right?
Yeah.
And you go to an all-the-person meeting and they sit there, or they're talking to somebody. They're not listening to the people. They don't care. I don't care.
That's
You
because
can
they
call
say
me.
they're smarter than we are.
Yeah.
That
You can-
we're not involved, we don't care.
Yeah.
Well,
You can call me.
That's what they're
I
saying.
think Monday is a great opportunity for parents
Yes.
to get involved. Here's an opportunity for people to show up and say, wait a second, we don't want you to vote on something that, one, is incomplete, let alone we know, looking at what we have so far, that it's not going to be the best for our children. It's not going to benefit them in the long run in their futures. And me as a parent, and I think everyone else who's a parent that's listening to this or watching this, we want better. And we deserve better. Our children deserve better. And this is not better
And
at
you know, I
all.
also
And
find-
so for them to vote anything other than to table what's on there is the best outcome. For them to pass this would be egregious. It would be an incredible error and a slap in the face to all the citizens and parents of Manchester. Say, we're going to pass this thing, so everyone needs to come in. You really have to come in. They will just bulldoze this through. And it's going to damage your
And
children.
You know what? If you don't go with voice your opinion, or you don't go vote for a beautiful lady, oh my goodness. If you don't go vote for a beautiful lady who's very outspoken, then if you don't go and voice your opinion, I don't want to go, or blah, blah, I'm too busy.
The moms will come.
Shame on you.
The moms should
Well,
The mothers. Well, what about the dads?
well, the moms.
Dads too.
The moms.
Yeah.
Well, we
Bring
need.
parents.
Everyone needs to get out there. Every vote
Bring
counts.
the kids.
And
Bring the
and
kids.
bring the kids. It's their future.
And they don't have to all
And-
talk.
and it- again-
But support.
You know, I find interesting is they'll go and support the people like Market Basket, okay, to keep them going, but yet they won't go and fight for their children's education.
But it's
How
the
sad
same
is
thing.
that?
What we've got is the market basket is fighting for this family, for these workers. Well, we're fighting for our teachers.
That's what I'm saying.
Because if
Families,
Common
our
Core
kids.
comes
You know what
in,
I'm saying?
we're going to
You're
lose
gonna
our
get more of a
teachers.
turnout
Right.
for people with Market Basket than you are for education, and how sad is
But the
that?
people don't understand. If Common Core and the testing comes in, then teachers will be labeled effective or ineffective, and they will fire them. So that kindergarten teacher or that third grade teacher that's great at math, she could be out on her ear because you didn't come and defend her. So we have to get together
That's
like
what
a
I'm trying to say,
community
you know,
and
all
defend our
that-
teachers.
You know, folks, I want you to see that we have a hell of a lot of good teachers in this city.
We do.
We do.
Their hands are tied, whether it's in this city, whether it's in Amherst or whatever town you want to be in, their hands are tied because you got to give the superintendent an extra pay raise, or you got to make sure the administration office gets more money. And it doesn't matter that we may need books for people with the minority education. It doesn't matter that we need books for students that are average or above average, as long as we make sure that our administrative system gets paid, and that our famous mayor, and I can't believe
Don't
how
look at
he
me.
changed. I can't believe how the mayor has
I
really
know.
turned about on us, and how, folks, it's education for your children.
It's our future. It's all of ours future. And if you can't sit there and at your nice, comfy desk and bitch and moan and whine about life. you got to get out there and fight for.
Well, the
for our
teachers
lives.
can't. The teachers, if they
No,
speak
I
up,
know, but
they
the
could lose their
parents-
jobs.
Oh, I know. I
Is
have
that right?
lots of
Yes.
lots of teachers. In
Yes.
my
Yeah,
family, so
I think it's
understand that.
important
The
to
parents
give.
have got to
I
get
think
there.
I think it's important to give you a concrete example of why this is important
I
and
didn't
what's wrong
know
with
that
these
teachers can't
standards.
speak out.
Right, but I want to kind of go through, just give me just a couple minutes, because I'm going to go through and explain to you, it won't take me long, maybe 3 or 4 minutes, explain to you what's wrong with these standards and why it's important
Yes.
that people
Thank
speak
you.
up. In the Common Core standards, in the Common Core math standards, there's a lot of standards that say explain your answer, explain why. I'm just going to throw this out there, 2 + 2 = 4. Okay, so we had a teacher in Manchester, didn't teach in the Manchester school, but she's a Manchester resident, go before the board a couple times and say, why is this in the standards? Because explain why 2 + 2 = 4 is not a mathematical concept.
Right.
And it's been highly criticized by mathematicians, saying you're focusing on communication skills versus math computation. And a lot of kids don't have the math computation. That's what we want them to focus on, the basics. So in the Common Core standards, a lot of it is explain. Well, that's also in the Manchester academic standards. So what you've got in Manchester, you've got a high immigrant population, so maybe they don't speak the language very well, but they know 2 + 2 = 4.
Right.
And they answer that question right, but they don't explain it properly. They don't communicate it well. Boom, marked wrong. So in your standards, you have flawed academic math standards right now being proposed. That's just one example. Now, the kids are going to be tested on that. That's going to be on the Common Core tests that the mayor has said that they want to get rid of, and I stand behind the mayor on that suggestion, and I
But
will be
Anne Marie,
supporting that.
This is a perfect example. They say it's a standard, but you've got the methodology of how they have to solve 2 + 2 =
Right,
4.
right.
So it's more than just a standard.
It's more than a
They're pushing a
standard,
whole
exactly.
methodology, a whole pedagogy.
A pedagogy.
Yeah.
Yes.
So,
it is
but
not
the
just
bottom
the
line is,
standard.
but the bottom line is, once these kids are tested, once they're asked to explain, and the scores drop, and they will drop, by the way, everybody's been warning that they're going to drop because this is a flawed test
They
that's
have in other
coming.
states.
Right.
Yeah.
So now your teacher's going, well, but my kids know their math facts. My kids know their math facts, and the person evaluating the teacher goes, well, but they couldn't explain it. So guess what, teacher? You are now evaluated as poorly, as a poor teacher, because your student couldn't explain it well, even though they may be brilliant in mathematics. That's the problem with Common Core, and that's one
And
problem.
explain who the
that's
teachers are.
one small
That's
small
the problem with the Manchester academic standards. And your teachers, make no mistake about it, are going to suffer for what they developed. And they put these teachers in a box. Keep in mind that they put these teachers in a box because guess what? Your innovation plan that your superintendent has put into the district.
You might have hit a nerve. We have a call coming
Okay,
in.
great. Well, you know what, let me finish this up
Yeah.
real quick. Your teachers
Hold on,
are
hold
being
on.
your teachers are being evaluated. If you look at the innovative plan, 20% on student progress. How do you measure student progress? Through the testing.
The test.
They're going to ask them to explain their answers. And I am a math tutor. If explain was a mathematical concept that I believe was important or the mathematicians believed were important, I would stand behind it. I don't, and many mathematicians, you can ask Dr. Milgrim when he comes in. Or maybe a kid can't explain 2 + 2 = 4 at the age of 6, but maybe when they're in high school they can explain it when they get older. It's not a developmentally appropriate question either.
Exactly.
So, go ahead.
Welcome to Norman, friends. Oh, lost them.
Call again.
Come back.
You should understand that a teacher isn't just the classroom teacher. It's also the librarians, the guidance counselors, and the principals are all going to rise and fall based on these tests. Because we think it's just the teachers, but the teachers under state law for this statute is all of those people. So why is a guidance counselor going to be labeled ineffective if his students don't perform well on the test? It's ludicrous. Not only that, the tests aren't even validated. They're adaptive. We've never validated an adaptive test, and they won't let parents see them. This
Right.
is such a
And that's
What do you mean?
that's a
Wait,
big
wait,
secret.
wait.
No, there's so much secrecy here, and you know, I'm all for transparency and government and transparency in this. Is you really need to have the ability to see what
That dictatorial
they're
shit,
testing
that
us.
Russian communists. Are you telling me that if I want to go see the test on my grandchild or on my child,
You're not allowed.
You're
then
not
I'm not allowed
Nope,
to?
you're not allowed.
No.
Oh, our caller is back. Welcome to Norman Friends.
Yeah, hi, it's Allison.
Hi, Allison.
Nice to know. Hi, happy birthday, Norm.
Thank you.
It's nice to hear some people with some common sense.
Thank you.
Well, that's questionable.
Well, as far as the education parts go.
Yeah, yeah. Are you enjoying what they're saying?
I have been, and been listening. I'm just really glad I don't have a child in school. Even when my son was going, I thought they kind of screwed things up with him too.
Yeah, I agree. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
So I'm watching you guys.
No, thank you.
And I hope someday something can be done about the education program because it sure is screwed up bad.
Come to the meeting
Well,
on
come,
Monday.
come to the meeting on Monday.
Come to the meeting.
That's,
Yes,
that's,
we want
that's,
everybody there, whether you have kids in the school
Right.
or
Or
not.
not.
This
I mean,
affects
whether-
all of us.
see, even if you,
What time is that
again,
on Mondays?
You're paying for this.
It's at
Yes.
starts at
7 o'clock.
it starts at 7 o'clock. If people want to come early, we're going to work on having some science materials available
We'll be
to
there
put
at
together
6.
some science. We'll be there at
God, That
6.
means I've got to do it 4 o'clock to put my makeup on so I can
Wow.
be there. Oh, God.
Well, it's again, it's very important.
Put your floppy hat on.
Yes.
You know, Norma, out of the 45 states
Well,
that
I will
have
tell you,
considered
back in
coming
the
home,
dinosaur days when I was going to school, I got told I was stupid.
me too.
Therefore, I shouldn't go to college. I should be a housewife.
But I went to
Wow.
college.
And even as a young girl, I said, up your nose.
Good for you.
for you.
Yay.
I didn't say that,
Yeah,
Sean, but
that's
that's all right.
Several years later, I did go to college, and I graduated with honors.
Congratulations. Good for you.
I'm a firm believer you learn more on your own than you do in a classroom.
Sometimes that's true.
Isn't he?
I'm gonna
Yep.
hang up.
Thank you.
All right.
Thank
But
Thanks.
it's true, you know, 'cause I was considered a slow
Now
learner.
think about the child who knows that 2 + 2 = 4 but can't explain it. Think about, okay, it's marked wrong. Think about how he feels about himself. Knows mathematics, but is frustrated because they're marking him wrong. He's flunking tests because he can't explain it. That's exactly what we're going to get with this.
Well, okay.
right.
In other words, you want to, I guess I'm a little confused. I'm always confused, but that's all right. Because I haven't smoked today. But anyway, so on the you mean to tell me, okay, I got 2 points here, so these 2 points, and I put them together, so I have to explain how I got 4. Is that what you're trying to tell me?
Exactly, and you know, as a math tutor, I always ask my students to show the steps, okay? And that's not what I'm talking about, because I think teachers will, you know, they'll say show your steps because they want to see where you made your mistake. That's not what I'm referring to. I'm referring to literally explain it and use your language skills to explain these things. And it's not, as the math teacher who came before your school board said, this isn't mathematical. As mathematicians will say, this isn't mathematical computation. This is more about communication, and let that be done in a communications class. And let the teacher focus on that, communication in a communications class or an English language arts class, not in a math class. So it's a setup for failure for these kids. It's a setup for failure for these teachers. And you take a school district. I live in Bedford. You know, we don't have probably the high immigration problems that you have to deal with, maybe with language skills, speaking different language that you have to deal with.
53 different languages.
Exactly. So you're going
98 now?
to, yeah, you may see a difference in proficiency levels based on that alone. And is that really doing your school any favors? These standards have got to be done the right way. Do not push this through. This is a document that is flawed because most of these standards are just rewriting Common Core. Do not push this through until you get a Dr. Stotsky and a Dr. Milgram saying this is a quality document. Or, you know, here's a couple problems. They haven't even identified the problems because they were never asked. You have the nation's top experts that are at your fingertips.
Yeah, we got another call coming in.
Okay.
You
We
guys.
got to swap places,
Yep.
right?
Yeah.
Okay.
I want you to come back there. I'll give you the information so I can get a hold of you.
Welcome
Okay,
to
you know,
Norman
yeah.
Friends. Go ahead.
Hi there.
Happy birthday.
Thank you, Joan.
Joan.
Yeah, how are you, Joan?
I said
Oh, thank you, Joan. I heard you. Thank you.
Okay. I thought that was somebody else's.
Joan, I'm not hearing you.
You wouldn't believe how I received it.
How did you receive it?
You know how I knew it was your birthday?
How did you know?
Well, I looked at my phone, and I'm having trouble with my eyes. With
Uh-huh.
my eye, I have cancer of the eyelid.
Right.
So, Al, to tell the person that sends me text messages, just to call. I don't want any text messages. The text message was your Norm Movie's birthday.
Yeah, it is. Yeah, I'm 19 today.
It came from Gerard at Lodge.
Yeah, he wished you a happy birthday through her.
Oh, that's all right. Thank you, Joan. Well, we're doing a real hot topic today about hot men doing dancing online.
Oh, God. Enjoy it.
Be good now. Behave.
Yeah, actually, Joe, we're talking about Common Core.
Yep.
Common Core.
Okay, and what's his name is going to call about 5:15.
Yeah. Okay. We'll make sure we get him. Okay.
Oh, of course you why? Shouldn't you get it?
Oh yeah, we will.
Okay.
Okay.
Matt, you want to give him, what time does he usually call?
Around 5:15. Between now and 5:15.
Between 5:15 and 5:20?
Yeah.
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 Okay.
Okay.
You take it easy.
You too. Bye bye, darling.
Okay. Okay, he'll call you in a few minutes.
Okay.
He will.
Not
Yeah.
in a few minutes, at 5:15?
Yeah. Pretty soon. Yeah.
Okay.
Okay.
I'll wish you a happy birthday.
And thank you very much. I love you, honey.
Okay, thank you.
Bye bye.
Bye-bye.
Our next guest is Kim Morin.
This woman called just now. I love her dearly. We really do. Al Caprillion. You know who Al Caprillion
Yes.
is? He used to be a regular on our show. Okay. He was on your show for a
Yeah.
while too.
Get a job now.
Yeah. And of course he's back in Derry. And this lady, oh my God! One time he called, and Al was really here. She thought it was fake. She spats out on us, and I mean, like, you couldn't hang up on her because she would keep calling back. Finally, Al had to go and talk to her privately, you know. And is there some more people out there? Does she know that?
I think this is it.
Yeah.
Oh, so I can pick on her then.
Her name is Gail Morin.
Go for it. Kimberly Morin.
I'm sorry, Kimberly. Did I say Gail?
Yes, so you're Marianne, I'm Gail now.
that.
Boys,
I know
I'm
too
gonna
many
make you
people,
boys
but it
cue
is.
cards.
There you go. And, okay,
Kimberly.
Kimberly. How did you get involved with Common Core, and what do you do, and what qualifies you, and all that other happy garbage?
Well, I write for Examiner. I'm the Manchester Political Buzz Examiner, and for a very long time I've been researching legislation and policy. So, that's being, sort of thrown upon us by state, local, and federal government. So when I find policy or legislation that is bad for us as citizens or residents, I fight against it. So that's one of the reasons I got involved with Common Core, and this has been going on for several years, when it was first the race to the top, which I actually call it the race to the bottom, in the stimulus package that came out in 2009. The problem with Common Core is that the standards are actually lower. The standards are lower than New Hampshire's original standards. New Hampshire was just rated as number 4 for education and out of all of the states. So tell me that those standards aren't better than Common Core. What Common Core does is it brings the bottom standards up a little, but it brings the top standards lower. So it makes everybody even. So your best students are eventually going to be no better than your worst students.
Yeah, I have a question for you then. And we're that way. Why isn't Central High School accredited?
You're in the process right now.
No, that
Might be out.
I was going to say, I can't answer that.
All
I
right.
mean, if you take it over.
It's money situation.
Yeah. Let's. Welcome to Norman Friends.
Hi.
No.
Is Norm there?
I'm right here.
Doesn't sound like
Hi,
it.
Norm.
Hi.
It's Lynn.
Hi, Lynn.
How are you?
I am doing really well. How are you?
Good.
Good.
My husband just put in for a job
Can you, okay,
Can you get it?
I have to have you call me next week or call me at my house because we're not taking calls. We got some people here talking about educational Common Core. Can you call? He will get the job. I'll put it that way, okay? But if you want to call me at home, yeah.
Okay.
Okay. But if you want to call me later or whatever, okay?
Okay, thanks.
Okay. Yeah. Bye-bye.
Thank-
That's what I usually do, is take things on the phone. you know?
Yeah.
I think this is more important than, I mean, I love doing reading, don't misunderstand me.
Oh, no, but sometimes it's good to get this information out to the public,
Right.
because when I looked at the standards, it's all Common Core standards, and some of the tweaks they made are just to put in other Common Core standards or change a few words. They did not make these standards any better. These are not academic standards that Manchester should be putting into place. The standards before were better. If they want to get better standards, start from what they had before, or use the Massachusetts standards, because I believe Massachusetts is number one.
Yep.
Use those standards and go higher. Do not lower the bar to something that is going to hurt our kids and not make them better.
I thought we were the, like, almost the fourth from the bottom in education.
No, fourth from the top.
top.
From the top.
Yeah.
Heather Gage today, yes.
The state.
Oh, the state, oh.
The state is.
I'm talking about Manchester.
Well,
Well,
Manchester's,
in all of New Hampshire, but the state as a whole is number 4 in the entire
Really?
country. It's Heather Gage. She's on the School Board Association.
no, she's the Department of Education.
Department of Education. When that was brought up to her today on NHPR, she said, "Oh, it's not because our standards are better. It's because our kids are smarter." Really? How can you say that?
Well, I'm glad our kids are
I know.
smarter
I'm glad our kids
despite
are
all
smarter
this
too,
nonsense.
but
Why
you
are they trying
know.
to make them dumber then?
Yeah, exactly.
Good question.
And I think it can also be argued, I mean, there's going to be different opinions on what New Hampshire had in place. I personally did not like the math standards that New Hampshire was using, and they were developed under Governor Lynch, and quite frankly, if the Department of Education had a problem with them, why didn't they fix them? Why did they wait on the
exactly.
federal government to dangle money in front of them to say, okay, we'll just adopt those? Why didn't they work to develop better standards if they didn't like them? The English standards, we should have probably asked Dr. Stotsky when we had her on the line. I think she probably would say that the Common Core were not better than what New Hampshire had in place. So even if we say that New Hampshire's math standards were not the quality that our students deserved, neither is the Common Core. So we still have a failure on the part of the state, on the part of Governor Hassan, on the part of the Department of Education. They failed, okay? Now it's time for Manchester to step up to the plate, do what's right, and fix that failed attempt that the Department of Education made. So even if we don't like the New Hampshire standards, even if you don't want to go back to them, and quite frankly, I would not go back to the old math New Hampshire standards because they were confusing to read. I read them. I didn't like them either. But just changing the wording and making it clearer doesn't make them better.
Right.
What makes them better is if I would suggest you go look at the old California standards, math standards. Those are my personal favorite. Go look at the Massachusetts standards, read them. They're not only clear, they're better. So you get clearer and better with the Massachusetts standards and with the California standards. These are the old ones because they are now using Common Core because the federal government gave them money.
And they took it.
And they took it.
And that's the thing. Start at higher. You want higher standards, not lower standards.
The sad part is dollars.
Yes.
Right.
The sad part is dollars. I mean, we're all the time where, like, they're admitting that you're not allowed to have prayers in school. You're not allowed to do this. You're not allowed to do that. I'm sorry. You know what? The good old days when the children were allowed to say prayer in school, salute the American flag, and you had teachers. Unfortunately, teachers are tied today. They can't just
back.
They can't. Oh, thank you. Was that God again?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. They can't discipline the children because they're going to get in trouble.
Right.
You can't send a child out. I mean, I used to be faithful being sent out in the hallway. Oh, I probably had a record. I bet you they got a desk with my name on it, you know. Because I used to call the operator after I get kicked out or whatever. I know I was going to do it, you know. But you cannot, the teacher's hands, as far as the teachers are concerned, their hands are tied. And if I went to you and I said, Glenn, stop hitting that person, I have to be careful how I address it, or I'm going to be charged with being abusive.
Yeah,
Yet-
let me give you an example of that, because you're saying that the teachers' hands are tied, and what we heard this morning on NHPR was, oh, they have creativity. And so, yeah, that the teachers have
No.
creativity in the classroom. And I will tell you that they may right now, but when the testing begins, that creativity goes away. Because again, your teachers are evaluated on the student progress. And if the student is not progressing on explain your answer, guess what's going to happen? Those teachers, if they want a good evaluation, better start focusing on explain your answer, which is non-mathematical. And as a math tutor, that scares me. And so now you're going to take away their creativity and put them in this little box and say, your evaluation is based on this. You better get with it. What do you think a teacher is going to do? So to say that they have creativity in the classroom and that they have autonomy in the classroom, did they pick out everyday math in this district? Because let me tell you something, it is one of the worst math programs. That's what your school board ought to be voting on Monday night. Get rid of everyday math, bring in real math, so these kids are prepared for higher level mathematics. That's the things that they should be focusing on.
The testing is the huge reason to get rid of Common Core, because once you get Common Core, then you're going to be like Nashua. We're going to have summative tests at the end of the year. We're going to have interim tests throughout the year, and formative tests at the beginning and end of every semester. So there's so many tests that you're not doing anything.
Common Core aligned.
It's all Common Core aligned, and they're online, and they suck private information to who knows where,
Yeah,
because
people don't know that the company that owns Common Core, or the companies that do these testing, they can take that information and sell it to
Yes.
anybody
Yes.
they want.
Yes,
Right.
That should
absolutely.
piss everybody off.
That should get
parent,
everybody
without
there on
parental
Monday.
permission.
That's your kids' information
That's
they're
right.
selling.
You know, and this is going to be Monday night.
This is
Yes,
Monday,
Monday, August
August
11th,
11th.
7 p.m.
7 p.m. at Manchester City Hall. Come out there with sun. If you can do it for Market Basket, you can do it for your kids.
Thank
That's
you.
right.
yes.
Yes.
I have a pet peeve about that. So.
Yeah.
No, I support Market Basket. Don't
I do
get us
too.
wrong.
Well,
but we
I'm
gotta
sure
support
everybody
our
does,
But
children.
let's
yeah.
support our children.
Right.
Okay?
So
they're both
Let's
community
say, you know what?
events.
You can send billions of dollars to send the president's wife to Hawaii, but all that money that you're spending for the politicians and all this money you're spending for this and that, why can't we put it into education? Why do we have to do this? Why can't we have teachers? And there's a lot of good teachers
Oh,
out there.
we have an incoming call. It may be the call
Yeah,
we're
might be
waiting
now,
for.
yeah.
Welcome to Norman Friends.
Hi, Laurie. Al Capri.
Hey,
How's
Al.
Dawn doing? Everyone doing good today?
We're
And we're all doing good. I'm in the middle of a hot bunch of looking ladies here.
And Glenn.
We got some
Oh, yeah,
hot
Glenn.
weather to go along with that, Norm, this weekend. We got a lot of sunshine both days.
Oh, good.
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 No.
Everybody likes the
So it's
sunshine.
not real humid either, Norm.
Good.
Oh, good.
Oh, that's even better.
You're gonna like
Sunshine
that.
and it's not hot, right?
I'll tolerate that.
Yeah. Oh, look at that. How's your show? A lot of calls today?
Actually, it's been interesting. We've had a few calls. We're talking about Common Core. Common.
Oh, okay.
What is it called? Common
Common Core.
Common Core education. Right?
Yep.
Yeah.
Anyway, Norm, before I get to the water, what do you think of the Red Sox? You're still going for a better year next year, right?
Yeah, I gave up on them this year. We're going to go better next year. There's going to be a lot of people that are going to be let go on the Red Sox team.
You gave up?
Yeah.
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 Yeah, even me. I'm a diehard Red Sox fan, and I have trouble watching the game this year. It's sad.
I won't watch it now. I cry. Then my makeup
Oh.
runs.
It's always next year, right?
Always next year. Isn't that the same
That's
for New
it.
England? Isn't that when they play the
Always
Patriots?
There's always
And,
next year.
You know, I got to say, I think you agree.
sport?
I have never seen such sports enthusiasts as I have seen in New England. No matter how bad they play, whether it's a football game, whether it's
Yeah.
Hockey.
whether it's baseball, basketball,
Soccer.
Yeah.
throwing your wife through a basketball hoop or whatever, you still get a lot of New England support.
Yep.
Yeah, and at least they won the World Series last year, the Red Sox, so, you know, we can't win it every year. So
No, no.
we're going to have a winning forecast, Norm, Laurie, and everyone tonight. We mostly clear, some patchy valley fog, middle to upper 50s. Tomorrow, morning sun, and then mostly cloudy, some showers and storms Saturday in the afternoon with a weak cold front, upper levels of surface. Some of the storms have some gusty wind, small hail in some areas tomorrow afternoon to early tomorrow evening, and then Friday, partly mostly sunny, There'll be some fair weather clouds in the afternoon, upper 70s, and mostly sunny, 80 to 85 on Saturday and Sunday. A beautiful weekend. Monday looks good, middle 80s. So anyone's starting a vacation, Norm and Laurie, this Friday night, it looks a great weekend and a great start to that vacation next week.
Excellent, excellent. Thank
Thanks,
you,
Al.
Al.
That works for me.
Let's
I'm
all
going away.
go.
I'm going away.
Well, Norm, we'll talk to you soon. I won't type your phone lines anymore. Have a great night, all of you. We'll talk to you soon.
All right,
Bye-bye.
thanks, Al. Bye.
You know, I wanted to say earlier that out of the 45 states that have considered, Common Core, 22 of them now are trying to write them off.
Yep.
That should tell you something. It's gone viral. They've experienced Common Core, like Indiana, even Massachusetts. There's a lot of rambling in the communities
Yes.
saying, what did we do? We took the government money for what? To make our kids dumber?
Right.
It's
They're
not
dumbing
even what
down.
did we do, it's what did the school
They
board or
did.
whoever, yeah, it's what did they do
We elected
by
them, and what
accepting
did
this
they do?
money
Yeah.
without even knowing what the standards were. They said, oh, sure, we'll take it. They made this assumption that these Common Core standards would somehow be better, even though they've never been piloted or tested anywhere. They're using our kids as guinea pigs.
Yes.
That's what they're doing. You don't do that. You pilot the program first to make sure it works.
Absolutely.
If it doesn't work, you make tweaks to it or you try something new, but you don't have the entire nation of children be guinea pigs. It's
Yes.
wrong.
It's funny how you say that, Kimberly, because normally when you take a survey that lasts for weeks and months, the company pays you a voucher for taking part. The testing in the next 2 years, we're going to be paying that company who's going to make millions
Right.
to test our kids on a system that hasn't even been proven to be successful. We're
And
the
it's
guinea pigs.
an
Our
unfunded
kids.
mandate. That test, the Smarter Balance tests are unfunded.
That's right.
Where are we going to come up with that money if we are forced to take that? In the
Well,
future.
parents aren't forced to take that.
That's-
Parents can
that's
opt out.
true.
You have to keep in mind.
Parents can opt out.
Administrators can dance all they want and sing whatever song they want, but the power is in the parent.
Parents' hands.
And the parent can say, my child's not taking that test.
That's right.
That's it.
Well, we need the power to be in the parents to stop Common Core in Manchester.
And that's
They
this
need to
Monday.
get together.
This is Monday. We have to demand better,
Yes.
because if we don't demand better, we're going to get stuck with a lot worse.
Sorry, when we have a mayor in this city that says that I don't think the parents care about their kids because they don't come to meetings. Why
middle
do you
of
hold
summer.
meetings
In the middle of summer.
July when there is no school, everybody's at home, their kids are at home. So I said this Monday, bring your kids with you.
Right, and let me just add something to that. Is a parent supposed to go through these standards and identify the problems? I know Patrice did. She's doing unbelievable amounts of work of side-by-side comparisons. Dr. Milgram did that with the Common Core standard, the Common Core math standards, and he identified flaws. And he identified where, if, for instance, in fourth grade, by the time your kids get to fourth grade and they introduce addition and subtraction, he's saying that's a year behind our international peers in top-performing countries. Is a parent supposed to know that? Do the school board members know that? He's an expert. He's an expert that was not utilized in Manchester for his expertise.
For free.
For free. He was
giving-
offering it for free.
That's why he was not utilized,
Yes.
because he was
No federal dollars.
So when the mayor says that the parents aren't involved, so the parents are supposed to sit down for hours upon hours and try to find those flaws that they might catch. For instance, if fractions are not converted properly in Common Core, there's a problem with that. They're supposed to catch that. Now, most parents don't have the ability to do that. What we wanted, and what I think a lot of parents expected, were, okay, these experts are now working with you, Manchester. Let them look this over, and they're going to tell us whether they agree with it, whether these are good or bad. And then he's going to identify the problems. And then the parents can say, you know what? We want conversions. We don't want that word explain in there because we know that's problematic. This is what we want. That's when the parents can get involved. Dr. Stotsky's right. This document should not be voted upon.
No.
They have not identified the flaws. They came and sold it at a school board meeting a couple months ago. They never identified the flaws that are in there. Common Core is sold as a way of getting your kids to critically think. Ask yourself, have you seen this district critically analyze Common Core and offer you any critical analysis on it. I have not heard
No.
anything. I've heard nothing about, oh, guess what? You know, Patrice Bernard has. She has brought to them that cursive writing wasn't in there, and she fought for cursive writing. But you never heard that from your six-figure salaried school administrators who are telling us, this is going to get your kids to critically think. Why don't your administrators critically think and critically analyze the Common Core standards for your parents and what they're proposing? Wouldn't that be nice?
Instead of starting with the floor, which they admit Common
Yes.
Core is,
What the hell
why,
is the floor?
I don't know, it's a
bottom.
basic.
basic.
It's the bottom.
Floor is the bottom.
Why didn't they start with the Massachusetts standard
With the best.
as the ceiling? They wanted the highest.
Yeah.
Let's start there and say where maybe we can't reach if it's too far for our children. But start at the best, because I don't know if they're able to build anything. So maybe
From
they
Common
should
Core,
start with a
especially.
model that's already
They're
been
stuck on the floor.
benchmarked.
Well, the thing is, folks, these people can give us valuable, and I love the information. Don't misunderstand that. I'd like to have the right come back on anytime again. I want to go
Thank you.
But if you as parents and grandparents bring your walkers, bring your wheelchairs, bring your depends,
Because you're paying for this.
that's right. Bring all your, your G2 feeding apparatus or whatever, But you know what? If you don't show up, I'm going to show up.
Thank you.
You know what it is? Common Core, it isn't just about parents who have kids in school. It isn't just about taxpayers. It isn't just about teachers. This affects all of us. These kids are our future.
Right.
Well, what is their future going to be like 15, 20 years from now when they can't do the things they can do today, actually?
If this was so
Yeah,
wonderful,
you should bring your granddaughter.
why isn't St. Paul's adopting it?
Why is it?
Why isn't
Right.
Phillips
Private schools aren't
Exeter?
adopting it.
You've got Governor Hassan who's saying this is wonderful, us
Oh, shit.
peons.
Yes, for the
But
peasants.
her husband's the headmaster of Phillips Exeter. They will not use it in their school. They're
I
developing
called them.
leaders. We're developing workforce
Well,
training.
right, and that's as we discussed earlier, that anybody
No.
that can send their kids to private school are going to do so.
Of
They don't
course.
want their kids being worker bees or drones. They want them to be educated and compete worldwide.
Exactly.
And
And
if you're
Common
a
Core
la-
doesn't compete
And if
worldwide.
you're a
No.
laborer, what's wrong with having a well-educated laborer?
Right.
What's
Right.
wrong with having somebody who's a laborer who understands U.S. history and understands the mistakes that have been made in the past so that we don't repeat them, that they're good citizens, that they understand that we live in a republic? Basic civics, basic math.
Right.
There's nothing wrong. and
Basic school
that's what employers
governance
want.
is local control. I mean, that's why we left Europe. We came here, we had a decentralized system where every little community could have their own little school district and they could create their own curriculum. That includes the testing.
Right.
So now we've
Right.
let them test our kids to some standard that we don't even like.
Right.
Well,
This is
as I was
crazy.
going to say here, and you know what, folks? If this slides by, because nobody shows up to protest, no one shows up to voice their opinion, no one, even when you carry a sign or whatever, if you don't show up, and you say, not going to do me any good, even if I show up, and why do they care? You know what? That it's your fault. Shame on you. You have no right to bitch. You have no
That's
right
right.
to complain.
Yep.
And 9 out of 10, you're going to re-vote in these people who are serving on your school board and say, well, I don't understand it, and it's not this way or it's not that way. Then let's all unite together. You would for a church meeting, hallelujah, and you would for a protest march. I remember the protest march very well back in my day. But can't we all get together and say, these are our children. Their future is in our hands. It's not the school board's hands. It's not your superintendent's hands. It's not your wonderful mayor. And I use the word advisedly. It's not your board and aldermen or all the people. It's you as voters, you as parents. Well, even though I may not have a child in school, I still pay taxes. Well, you pay taxes. Every one of us here all pay
Yep,
taxes.
we all
okay?
pay taxes.
Speak out.
Take your power
Nancy.
back.
Right. I see this all the time on Facebook. Take your power back.
Exactly.
Don't let the power of government control you. These ladies did not have to come here and express their views, and I feel very privileged, to be honest with you. These ladies did not have to take the time to do the research to let us know how important the education is and how bad, what's it called? Common Core. How Common Core is, okay? But I think these people deserve a lot of compliment, accreditation. I think they deserve a lot of
thank you all for coming in
And
and, yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you all for
having
being,
us.
you know,
It's so
brave enough to
awesome.
step
Every
up.
single one of you.
Absolutely.
You know, now they'll probably put a bounty on your head.
Well, once we buy into this program that you can take a kid, give them a uniform, no innovation in our schools anymore.
Yep.
One size fits all. We take the test. 70% of you fail like they did in New York. Then they're going to come in with expensive remediation programs. And we're going to have to pay for it,
Right. It's all
whether
about
we
the
agree with it or not. And the same companies that are making money, this is a toxic testing environment where you've got Pearson coming in. They own 80% of the textbook market. They own the whole testing market.
It's a monopoly.
It's a
literally
monopoly. And if they don't like it, well, of course they're not going to like it. They're going to sell the next program.
Right.
And we're going to be on the hook for program after program because
Right.
we bought into this toxic testing. And the unions, the teacher unions nationwide are saying, enough. This is crazy. They want Arnie Duncan to resign. They've had it.
Yeah.
So we have to reach out and help our teachers and
Yes,
say, take them
absolutely.
out of this because we don't need this downward spiral where we spend more and more money on more and more remediation that our kids didn't even need. If you look at Korea, which is supposedly the model, the highest testing, score in country internationally, they work like drones. They work till 10 o'clock, 7 to 10 o'clock at night. We don't want, that's not the way we raise our kids here. We raise them to think for themselves, to do their schoolwork, but to have a life. Their life isn't all about that test and getting the next level of education and the next job. No. They're people, and we're raising them to be the citizens for tomorrow. So we don't need that test and punish
I don't
model.
want to sound crude and rude, but I resent the remarks of labor people. I really do. The education for labor people. Because without the labor people, no one is going to have any product. No one's going to
Well,
have
that's
a
what
car.
she was just saying.
Exactly.
They deserve a real
But
education.
that's this elitist approach.
Right.
We're going to create these, the laborers or
Workforce
or
worker
the
bees.
workforce workers, and we're just going to give them these lower standards. But Secretary Duncan, that's who Doris mentioned. Arnie Duncan is this
His
U.S.
kids don't go to those schools.
Do you think they're putting their kids in these
A
schools?
lot of the
He's in
politicians and
Virginia.
stuff send their kids overseas to go to
yeah.
school. So let's talk, think about that, people.
He's in
They don't
Virginia, and
educate them in
Virginia
this
got rid of
country.
it. Obama's children go to the Friends,
Sidwell
Friends, and they don't have it. And then,
But they got 7 bodyguards apiece, too.
Yeah, well.
yeah, well, I mean, it's not for the elite.
No.
Those are the leaders of tomorrow, and we're not. And there shouldn't be that wall, them and us. No,
But
we
you know
got-
what bothers me is that today I read, or I heard through PR, that one of the persons from the Greater Manchester area who happens to be a professor at
Dairyfield?
Dairyfield, they don't use Common Core. So
No.
how come they had these experts who won't even go near Common Core but say it's okay to have it for the kids who are in public schools? I don't buy that.
No, it's
I
I
don't
agree.
buy that. What
If
is
you
that all
look at
about?
it, these experts are getting paid well
By the
Yes.
federal government.
by the city.
By the taxpayers, you mean, by the taxpayers.
We're paying them to.
These people work for
support
us. We don't
kids.
work for them.
That's
Right.
They are supposed to do what we tell them, not what they tell us.
That-
And that's why people have to show up August 11th and demand better, because they work for us, we don't work for them.
And that's right. When the superintendent of school and the administration for the last 2 public hearings on Common Core did not give us a presentation at the West High School public hearing, I said that. I said, we pay you hundreds of thousands of dollars a year for all these administrations a piece. You're supposed to give us the information. Her example was, nobody called for the information. What do we hire you for? To get us that information and feed it to us. You work for us. For you to sit there with your names next door to you on your desk and not give us a presentation, you haven't done the work.
Okay, but you're highlighting a problem that has been a big problem in education for years, and I think it's coming to roost right now, because what has happened is we've turned education over to unelected bureaucrats.
Right.
And so the superintendents, the school boards are pretty much used to rubber stamping what the school brings them. The superintendents and the administrators answer to these unelected bureaucrats or the states and the federal government who's pushing these things on. So they pretty much just implement. What's happened with Common Core is the moms woke up, the dads woke up and said, whoa, too much. You've gone too far. It's bad enough, some of the stuff that was in the schools prior to Common Core. Now you're bringing this in nationwide, and parents are standing up. And I'll be honest with you, I think it's kind of freaking out the administrators, because they're not used to answering to the people who pay their salaries.
That's right.
The public. And now it's about time that the good thing that's come from Common Core is it awoke the mommies. And the mommies are not going away. They're not going away after August 11th. If the school board votes this in, I'm sure that I'm going to hear from Cornerstone
Folks,
from a lot of
you,
people.
It's not just mommies either.
And
it's
dads.
men
It's
too.
yeah, it is. It's, it's parents in general. It's people who have kids in school. It's everybody. Yeah, it's grandparents. Again, this affects all of us. These kids are our future.
Yep.
What kind of future are they going to have with Common Core education?
Right. Right. So that's the good part of Common Core. It woke people up. The superintendents, the administrators need to realize that we're taking back the power. The people are taking back the power, and this is a power struggle. It's a power struggle with us fighting unelected bureaucrats in the state and federal government, and that's what we're fighting against. And Doris brought up the fact that they're going to have to remediate these teachers once the kids aren't doing well on explain your answer and confusing math questions. So again, they're going to be accountable to not to the parents, but to these regional liaisons and these regional organizations that are going to remediate the schools.
That we can't unelect.
Right, they should be accountable to the parents.
You know what bothers me is that the city school board voted against last year Common Core. Yet, last year when school started, the school administration and the mayor ordered Common Core school boards. Now, 2 weeks ago, or last Tuesday, one school member actually admitted they weren't even admitting that. Yes, I have found Common Core books in the school that are being taught today, but that's okay. We're going to set aside the pages that are Common Core. Excuse me, it's a Common Core book.
Yeah.
We're not stupid.
Don't break my mic.
We're not stupid.
One of the things that I find interesting, whether it's in the alderperson board or whether it's in the school board, you do not have a so-called working class person on any of
We have
the
a
boards.
call coming in. Maybe
Well,
it's
that may be
the
okay.
doctor.
Yeah.
Welcome to Norman Friends.
Yeah, is this Rich Gerard's radio program?
No, it isn't.
Is this James, Dr. James?
It is.
Yes.
Hi, you're on the right show.
You're on the right show, Dr. Milgram. This is Anne Marie Banfield, so thank you for calling in. You're actually on the Norm Show.
Norman Friends.
Norman Friends show. We wanted to bring you into this discussion. We've actually had Dr. Stotsky on earlier, and we talked about the process kind of that Manchester has gone through. They not quite a year ago, they voted to use Common Core as the floor, as you know, and develop local standards that were superior to Common Core. And at the end of the process, I think what we're seeing is that there's really not a significant change. I think they've made some tweaks to it that could be positive. But what we wanted to bring you in, first of all, maybe you can highlight some of the more technical problems with Common Core, why you refused to sign off on them as when you were on the validation committee, and what Manchester should actually be doing to elevate their standards, because it doesn't look, and maybe you can clarify your position on this, it certainly doesn't look as if what they've done over the last several months and used thousands upon thousands of dollars resulted in a document that that the parents can stand behind. So if you don't mind, I'm just going to leave that over to you if you can expand on that.
And she said it all in one breath.
So go ahead,
Doctor.
So it seems to me that well, I was asked kind of unofficially to look at the their drafts as they developed. So from time to time, I would look them over fairly quickly. And at first, the first early drafts I thought showed real promise. And then each draft got worse and worse and worse, until what you got now is about the same as Common Core, and in many respects is, I would say, weaker.
Ooh,
That's
Not good.
that's scary.
Wow.
Common Core.
Can you identify what the real problems are with the Common Core math standards? I kind of went over it a little bit earlier in the show, but what are some of the main reasons you refused to sign off on the Common Core standards? And you have been instrumental in working in states that had developed some of the best standards in the country, California being one of them. So what were some of those reasons that Manchester should say no to this because they are too similar to Common Core?
Well, Common Core, they wanted me to sign a document that stated that Common Core was benchmarked against, with the implication that it matches up with the best international standards in the world. It doesn't. So I couldn't sign off on it. But there are other issues besides the fact that it's not internationally benchmarked. The biggest issues with it turn out to be that it stops. It stops with a geometry course that covers only half of what geometry usually covers, and an Algebra 2 course that covers a little bit more than half, but not much more than half of what Algebra 2 usually covers. So it is giving the students Algebra 1 way less than geometry and way less than Algebra 2. But if you look at the admission requirements of all of the flagship public universities in all the states but Arizona, you will find that the absolute minimum requirements for admission are 3 full years of math, and the usual expectation is that one of those years will be trigonometry or above. So it's incredibly marginal for even admission to to standard 4-year colleges and universities. What it was really designed for, according to the writers themselves, was for community colleges and for-profit universities. So if you want to send your kid to University of Phoenix, or you want to send your kid to the local community college, then Common Core is for you. If you don't, maybe it's not.
So basically, kids, after they graduate from high school with Common Core, would have to go to a 2-year college before they could even attempt to go to a 4-year college to make sure they get all the math that they should have gotten in high school.
That's correct.
Wow.
Right.
So why are we paying?
Yeah.
Right?
Yep.
Crazy.
So
Is that what you're saying, Doctor, that they're going to have to go to a 2-year college or like a Phoenix college before we can go to a decent higher university?
In effect. Now, there are bright kids out there. There are plenty of them, and they could probably survive with this background in a university. But one thing that would be very, very unlikely would be that even if they wanted to major in a STEM area, that is science, technology, and mathematics, and engineering, the chances are only 1 in 50 that they would succeed in getting a 4-year degree.
Wow.
That's scary.
1 in 50.
That is
And that's
scary.
where we need people the most, really. We
Right.
need
Yes.
students in those areas.
That's scary.
And you know what's so funny, Doctor? Right now, the Manchester School District is in the process of creating a STEM education system for our schools. So how can they do that at the same time endorse Common Core?
Oh, and I should tell you, Dr. Milgram, that Manchester uses everyday math, so if you would like to weigh in on the failures of everyday math, you can also do that.
Okay, at this point, what can I say? Students prepared in everyday math barely can handle even the material I indicated. So maybe it's not so stupid of Manchester, given that they have chosen one of the poorest programs out there. It's not so stupid for them to choose to follow a weakened high school curriculum.
I'm scared for the younger students here in Manchester. I have a granddaughter who's really, really intelligent, and hearing this scares the hell out of me.
Well, what I normally recommend is that if your children are in a school using everyday math, make sure they're also in Kumon or Sylvan Learning Centers where they're learning real math. So, Dr. Milgram, I mean, is there's a vote on August 11th coming up on the Manchester academic standards. Can you maybe point to some academic standards in states that had higher quality standards that you would point to? I know California, where you helped develop those, but what are some other states that?
Well, let's see. Of the leading states, for the most part, the only one I didn't have input into was Indiana. But the states which had the best standards out there were California, Massachusetts, Indiana, Minnesota, let's see, maybe Georgia.
What about Texas now?
So what I would recommend is that your first you can take these standards, they're public, and you can use them. So you can use the California standards or the Massachusetts standards. Those I would think would be the most likely to be successful, but they're also the most challenging. And you know, when you have a school system where everyday math is accepted, then your kids can be at such a disadvantage that it might not even be able to be possible to bring them up to the level to use the California or Massachusetts.
How would
That's
this
something
affect?
you'd have to look at.
How would this affect someone's child who has like a learning disability? I had a question. A friend of mine asked a question about how will this core thing affect autism or some kind of these people that have a learning disability. How was that going to help them, or how will it not help them?
Well, there's a lot of research on teaching at-risk kids, and what it says is fairly consistent and fairly clear, and it says that the kind of approach to teaching that Common Core is recommending is totally inappropriate for the weak kids.
Isn't that sad?
Yes.
Yep. One
So,
size fits
so
all.
to go a step further, because many I'm hearing from child psychologists and teachers out there that it's actually developmentally inappropriate. Would you agree with where some of the standards are in Common Core, that, especially math, obviously math, that they are developmentally inappropriate? In terms, what does that mean if it's developmentally inappropriate for a child to try to reach a standard in mathematics?
Well, that it works both ways. In the early grades, in kindergarten, first grade in particular, a number of the standards are developmentally inappropriate, strongly developmentally inappropriate, in the opposite direction from what you would think. Instead of making a topic trivial, these standards in kindergarten and first grade are actually standards that might be relatively challenging for some students in third grade.
Right.
So there's a lot of that in the most early, the earliest grades, first, second grade a little bit, and kindergarten a lot, and then it reverses. As you get into third grade and fourth and fifth, and maybe to a lesser extent sixth, the standards that are developmentally inappropriate are uniformly weaker than they should be.
So set the kids up to fail at the beginning, and then they just keep continuing to fail.
That's the whole thing.
Right.
Well, that's because they want them on medication all the time.
Well, it's actually because the authors, the lead writers, were well-intentioned, and mathematically they were certainly literate, but they had no clue as to what the research is, both in developmental psychology and in other countries, on the pace at which students can and should learn. They just had no background, and so they, rather than doing the research that they should have done, they just made wild guesses.
And I think that this is why I wanted to bring Dr. Milgram into this discussion, because how many of your school board members have even reached out to Dr. Stotsky or Dr. Milgram for their analysis, because obviously the school never got their analysis on this. They bring something to these set of standards that most people in this country cannot do. He has the knowledge. He cites research. You know, has anybody cited research that have looked at what Manchester has come up with? So that's one of the reasons why I reached out to him, and I reached out to Dr. Stotsky early on, because I knew that they would bring something to the table, that perspective and information, quality information that might not be part of the discussion. And so, since knowing that some of this was left out of the discussion, that concerns me. Dr. Milgram, they're going to be voting on these standards, the entire school board, on Monday, August 11th. Based on what you know, what's your recommendation to those school board members? What should they do?
Well, if it were me, I would vote to redo the standards.
Right.
And in fact, to in the interim, while doing them, to use some of the higher level standards. Yes. As I said, Massachusetts or California, or if those are too difficult, maybe Minnesota would be better, or Indiana. But those standards are solid. Those standards are genuine standards. They tell what students should be learning. They are research-based, and they would improve the situation. And in the meantime, in the interim, you might hope that the faculty and the administration would be looking on their own at what good standards require, and maybe after that they might attempt to write their own. But it's unwise to write standards without a lot of background.
Mm-hmm. Can I ask you one more question? Okay, so we're going to wrap up. Can you just, they've got to sign off. Can you just, if they would happen to adopt good quality standards in math, can you just throw out a couple replacements for everyday math that you would suggest to the school board?
It's not so easy, but there are a couple programs out there that are based on international programs, and they've been weakened for the American audience because we frankly are not able to handle, with our background right now, we are not able to handle what they do in the high achieving countries. But among these programs that are slightly or mildly weaker than the programs in the high achieving countries, but based on them, probably the best of them is something called Math in Focus.
Thank you, Doctor. We have to go. We appreciate you coming on, and we'll keep in touch.
Yes, thank you.
Thank you, Doctor.
Sure.
Bye-bye.
I want to thank you. I want to thank every single one. I really want to express you two, and you mainly, not mainly, but you know what I'm saying. Even though I didn't like the word "mommy" all the time, you know.
Well, I'm a mom.
Well, I was a single parent too,
Yeah,
so you know.
yeah.
But all of you were awesome. I hope you'll come back on again. Sure. I didn't even pick on them.
I know. What's wrong with you? It must be your birthday gift.
Must be to be nice. That's not.
Why is he usually not nice?
No.
I
can be a little. But I was so intrigued. It's your fault that I didn't pick on anybody. But I was so intrigued. I hope you'll come back on.
Thank you for having us.
I'd like to have you come on too, talk more about your political views and like this. Even though we're a psychic show, I also love controversy.
Ooh, well, I like bringing it up and
All right.
creating it. So
we had a man on that he's running for state senate. Thank you. We had a man on that was running for state senate. He brought his daughter and
His
his
wife?
on to protect him, and it doesn't work. Not with me, because I'm going to ask you anyways. If it's in there, and I know there's a way I can ask a question. I'm afraid. Oh, we got another call.
Oh.
No one calls, Brett.
You want me to get this one or no?
Yeah, make it quick.
Welcome to Norman, friends.
Hi,
Hi,
who am I talking with?
I'm Norm.
Hi, Norm.
Yeah.
Happy birthday.
Well, thank you.
And I've been listening to the show with you and Glenn and the panel,
Yeah.
and it was a wonderful show, Norm.
Thank you.
Thank you.
And the only thing I want to say is the word common tells it all.
Yeah. Thank you.
Tells it all.
We
So
agree.
Thank
Jill,
you.
I listened to her. We are not all common.
That's right.
Yeah.
Right.
The main problem with what's going on.
Yep.
The other thing I see is the money that's waved in front of the communities and the states to sign on to this. And you got to know right there
Red flag.
there's something fishy about it.
Yep.
Right.
They got to pay you to do it.
Yep.
That's right.
Absolutely.
Exactly.
Yep.
And we have been doing well for years. Our kids are going to great colleges. They're getting all kinds of accolades. And what's wrong with the system we have?
Nothing.
Except they throw in tests that don't really tell you anything.
Right.
So
Right.
I thank you for your comments. I think you're right on the nose, and this should be voted down, hands down.
All right.
Do our thing. That's our right.
Absolutely.
Thank you very
Excellent.
much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Yeah. And Glenn, I want to thank you for coming on. It's been a long time. We used to pick on Glenn all the time.
It's important that we go to this meeting. We need to demand better.
August 11th, 7 p.m., City Hall.
I forgot your name.
Anne Marie.
Anne Marie.
Doris Hohensee.
No, it's
Kimberly Moore.
Give me more. I want to thank all three. And of course, Glenn. And Glenn, you have a TV show?
Tomorrow at 4, it'll be all in Spanish mostly, so it'll be fun, dancing and music. We're
No
pushing
games?
the envelope again.
Oh. But I want to say, this was really awesome. This is what we're all about. I want the public to be aware. Education is so important.
Yes,
You know,
absolutely.
my
It's-
mom, I had a fortune with, bless her heart, even though they told me I had a learning disability, she said, you will get your education. Parents, you got to care about your children. You got to care about their education. It starts from home.
Absolutely, absolutely.
Okay?
So
If you
show
don't-
up.
If you don't care, why should the children care?
Right.
And your teachers are not your babysitters. They are there to teach their children. And by the way, thank you all once again for coming on. I'd love
Thank
to
you.
come back
Thank
on
you,
again.
everybody.
And remember, every day, folks, you are absolutely the winners.
To you, Norman, and thank you for letting me close out your show. And I have a few songs here, and this one I happen to like very much, and it's called "Love Is in the Air." Love is in the air, everywhere I look around. Love is in the air, every sight and every sound. And I don't know if I'm being foolish, don't know if I'm being wise, but it's something that I must believe in. And it's there when I look in your eyes. Love is in the air, in the whisper of the tree. Love is in the air, in the thunder of the sea. And I don't know if I'm just dreaming, don't know if I feel sane, but it's something that I must believe in, and it's there when you call out my name. Love is in the air, love is in the air. Love is in the air, Love is in the air. Oh, oh, oh. Love is in the air, in the rising of the sun. Love is in the air, when the day is nearly done. And I don't know if you're an illusion, don't know if I see through, but you're something that I must believe in, and it's there when I reach out for you. Love is in the air, everywhere I look around. Love is in the air, every sight and every sound. And I don't know if I'm being too late, don't know if I'm being wild, but it's something that I must believe in, and it's there when I look in your eyes. Love is in the air, love is in the air, love is in the air, love is in the air.